From here on out, it is decreed when you light the chalice, you must skip down the aisle. Because that is the spirit of a chalice lighting. These are the words of Telos Whitfield. With the kindling of our flame, we recognize the fragility of life and our own vulnerability as we navigate challenges that always seem to come. May this light remind us of the strength we possess as individuals and collectively as a community to lean into and respond, finding our way forward together. I am not Linda Morse. However, there are times when I wish I was. Linda is one of our most stalwart volunteers, along with so many of you who put so much time and effort into the ministries of this congregation and its mission. She's unable to be with us this morning, so I hope that I will suffice in reading our welcome. Welcome, beloved, to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Worcester, a congregation of hope, love, and justice, inspiring people to take on the challenges of a changing world. I'm Aaron Payson, one of the ministers of this congregation, and I'm so delighted to be with you this morning. We begin by acknowledging that in Worcester, Massachusetts, we work, learn, live, and worship on the seized ancestral homeland of the Nipmuc people who survive and remain active as the Nipmuc Nation. We offer a special welcome to those of you who are new with us this morning. We are delighted that you are here. We hope that you will join us for fellowship following the service, for refreshments and conversation in Fellowship Hall. If you have questions or desire more information about this service or any of the ministries and programs of this congregation, please do not hesitate to ask any one of us. If they do not know the answer, they will find someone who does. We invite you to fill out one of the cards found in the pews. These cards can be placed in the offering plate or given to one of our ushers or greeters this morning. For those of you who are joining us online, we offer a very special welcome to you for safety purposes, so that we might come to know you better as you are able. Please do place your name in your video feed. Take a moment, please, if you will, in the space to sign one of our attendance clipboards or to follow the online version of this. Though you're not obligated to sign, we appreciate your information and will use it only for church purposes. During the service, we offer an opportunity to share a brief personal joy or sorrow. If you would like yours to be read aloud by me, please print it on the index card found in the pew, drop it in the collection plate, or come forward and give it to me at the time of joys and sorrows. These cards I will also post outside my office to be shared with friends at other services. And for those of you who are online, we welcome your joy or sorrow as well this morning. You're welcome to place it in the chat preceded by the words, please read, so that we can find it quickly. And we will also share these during joys and sorrows. In the foyer here are listening devices and large print orders of service, as well as hymnals. And I believe we have seat cushions. You know who you are. If you desire any of these or their assistance would be beneficial, please do see one of our ushers this morning that will be pleased to assist you. I invite you now to turn your technology to worship mode. And finally, please note any announcements that are on the back of our order of service this morning, not the least of which is the upcoming all-church potluck dinner. For those of you who are new with us, potlucks are a sacrament in Unitarian Universalist congregations. They are one of the foremost ways that we commune together so that we can not only get to know each other better, but walk away with a half dozen recipes we only wish we had had before. So I hope that you will join us for that very important occasion and so many other things that are happening this week. This evening, we have the second in our six-part series on Unitarian Universalist history. Online at 7 p.m. You can find information about that on our website, www.uucworcester.org. You're welcome to join us online. This is a video-based discussion that will explore the early history of Unitarian Universalism and continue through present day in the coming weeks. There will be time following the service for any more brief announcements, if there are any here. We are so glad that you're here, and we hope that this morning is an opportunity for you to rest and to reflect and rejuvenate. And Annie, where is Annie? She's behind me. This is happening more and more, where people are just coming up behind.
I'm Annie Armstrong. I'll be reading our opening words today from Reverend Gretchen Haley. There is nothing you need to bring with you to be welcome here. No right beliefs or proof of citizenship. No eternal optimism or clarity of conviction. No boundless courage or endless expertise. You do not need to know what brought you here or how you will solve the problem you are turning over and over in your mind. Your bills do not need to be paid, and your checkbook can be a mess. Your children may have been up half the night. Your hearing aids may not be working, and your knees may be creaking. You do not need to be already perfect or even halfway to belong in this circle where grace meets us where we are, but does not leave us as it found us, where love resides in each of us, yet is somehow more than all, where life still pulses and rages and heals and transforms, creating us in this day anew once again. Come, let us worship together.
Would you please join together in our opening hymn found in our Teal hymnal supplements, number 1020, Wo Ya Ya. Please rise in body or in spirit. We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know within, and we'll get there, heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Will be hard, we know, and the road will be muddy and rough, but we'll get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Wo ya ya, wo ya ya, wo ya ya, wo ya ya. We are going. Heaven knows where we are going, but we know within. And we'll get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Oh yeah, yeah. 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 Please be seated.
Good morning. I have the honor to introduce our guest speaker today. In honor of Women's History Month, we have a most honored speaker. So I want to just give you a little background on what she's about and, who she is. So, Isa Bumfrey was born into slavery in 1997. You're right. She would already, forget it, in 1797. And interestingly, it was in upstate New York where they only spoke Dutch. So at 9 years of age, she was sold into slavery and had to learn English. So not only was she sold, but English, So when she became a teenager, she was married to another enslaved man and 13 children. Oh my gosh. So she decided to try to escape with a baby daughter and a 5-year-old son, Peter. So the slavers found her, took Peter, took him back to wherever. She took them to court in New York, which was unheard of. And being totally illiterate, she won the case, which everyone was just dumbfounded. So she took Peter back to New York City, and they stayed. Along this time, Isa had a spiritual awakening and changed her name to Sojourner Truth. Sojourner meaning always on a journey of truth. So she continued to fight for women's rights, against slavery and temperance. So she was truly known for these fiery, kind of electric speeches that would draw a lot of people, big crowds. So she raised money for Black men who enrolled, of course, into the Union Army, because the Southern Army didn't have any. But so the Black Union soldiers, she raised a lot of money for provisions, clothes, all that stuff, and was personally thanked by President Lincoln himself. So she worked with Frederick Douglass and William Lloyd Garrison. And and when she was in her 60s, she moved to Michigan and became a conductor for the Underground Railroad. She died in 1883. So our guest speaker is going to give the speech that she gave at the Ohio Women's Rights Convention. Now, Sojourner was used to being heckled and protested, and what they were screaming or whatever at this point was that women were too delicate of mind, too frail of body to be able to work or deserve the right to vote. And this is when she gave her famous speech, "Ain't I a Woman?" There you go.
Well, children, where there is so much racket, there must be something out of kilter. I think twixt the Negroes of the South and the women of the North all talking about rights, the white man will be in a fix pretty soon. What's all this talking about? That man over there says that women need to be helped into carriages and lifted over ditches and to have the best place everywhere. Well, nobody ever helped me into any carriages or over mud puddles or gives me any of the best place. And ain't I a woman? Look at me. Look at my arm. I have plowed and planted and gathered in barns, and no man could head me. And ain't I a woman? I could work as much and eat as much as a man, when I could get it, and bear the lash as well. And ain't I a woman? I have borne 13 children and seen most of them sold off to slavery. And when I cried out with a mother's grief, none but Jesus heard me. And ain't I a woman? Then they talk about this thing in the head. What's that they call it? Intellect. That's it, honey. What's that got to do with women's rights and Negroes' rights? If my cup won't hold but a pint and yours holds a quart, Wouldn't you be mean to not let me have my little half measure full? And that man in black in the back, he says women can't have as much rights as men because Christ wasn't a woman. Well, where did your Christ come from? Where did your Christ come from? From God and a woman. Man had nothing to do with him. If the first woman God ever made was strong enough to turn the world upside down all alone, then these women together ought to be able to turn it back and get it right side up. And now they is asking to do it. The men better let them. Obliged to you from hearing me, and now old Sojourner ain't got nothing more to say.
Now we come to this time in our service when we're given an opportunity to contribute to the ongoing ministry of our religious exploration program participants, our youth and young ones who arrive in the sanctuary with baskets for change, an opportunity for a continuing donation to the emergency fund of this congregation, which serves so many people here and in our community with basic needs. So if you have change this morning, would you raise your hand so that our young ones can find you quickly? I want to invite Rachel Keogh to come forward for our 8th principal moment. Yes.
What other church can you skip down the aisle? Hi, my name is Rachel Keogh, and I am a member of the 8th Principal Task Force. UUCW's 8th Principal Task Force aims to educate and inspire our community to incorporate anti-racist and anti-oppressive commitments as part of our faith. The 8th Principal Moment is a monthly opportunity to think more deeply about how racism and oppression manifests in our everyday lives and continue to hold such issues in the forefront of our hearts and minds. My 8th Principal Moment today is called The Talk. Most, if not every Black or mixed-race child's parent knows the talk. When they explain to their child what to do and not to do in certain common and daily situations, like shopping in a store, walking down the street, or being pulled over by the police. Black parents know their child's life could depend on it. I know my son's life could depend on it. The talk did not occur on one specific day or at one specific age, but throughout our children's lives and during regular daily activities. We could just be shopping in Target, me following my shopping list in and out of aisles, and our kids on their phones texting away. At every pause, the texting would stop and the phone would go into a pocket. I know it was just their phones that they put away. However, a store employee might think they saw something else. When sitting down for dinner, we often have honest conversations about the things we see and hear on the news, happening to young people just like our kids. We know how hard that must be for them to make sense of it all. We know how scary it must all sound to them. This may force them to worry about always being prepared and always being on their guard. And having this talk may take away from them thinking like regular kids. But having this talk is a way for us to protect them. Like our daughter Alana and our son Justin, he counted the days before turning 15 3/4 when he was finally old enough to take the driver's ed and driver's permit test. My husband and I are very proud that he passed the online test and received his permit. We wish we could say that the only thing that worries us while he's behind a wheel are traffic violations. However, daily events tell us that even if he is doing the right thing, he could still be viewed as threatening and possibly lose his life over it. I wonder what could happen if every white child's parent had a similar talk with them. I wonder if that would increase empathy and understanding. Thanks.
A Buddhist story. Once a monk sat on the banks of the Ganges River with one of his students. As they watched the water flow by, a large scorpion, making its way along the steep banks, fell into the water and began to struggle and drown. Without hesitation, the monk reached in and pulled the scorpion from the water, and as he placed it on the bank, it stung his hand. Several minutes later, that same scorpion fell again into the river and commenced to drown, and again, the monk reached in and again was stung as he set the scorpion on the bank. A third time, the scorpion fell, and a third time it was retrieved by the monk with the same results. The student could no longer contain himself. "Master," he asked, "why is it that you keep saving this beastly scorpion from drowning? Can't you see that it's just going to sting you?" "Yes, I know it's going to sting me," laughed the monk. "It is the dharma of the scorpion to sting, but it is my dharma to save." More on this later.
I'd like to invite Michael Picard up on behalf of the Stewardship Committee. He's going to share his perspective on stewardship and pledging to this congregation.
Thank you, Maura. It was supposed to be Rachel and I. I'm recovering from a head cold, which Rachel caught, and she's in a bad way. So she sends her regrets, but she sent me along with a little testimonial to read to you. So this is her testimonial. I grew up as a UU, and because we moved around quite a bit, I attended a variety of UU churches. I always knew that I would want to bring my kids up in the UU traditions. It is so important for kids to have another community, sometimes a refuge, that is welcoming and has a moral compass. Our first visit to this church was 27 years ago, and it happened to be on the day that UUCW is celebrating becoming a welcoming congregation. It was an amazing day for a first visit. As I've grown up, I was envious of folks whose church or faith had all the answers. I like that there is no dogma here, except for maybe question authority. As I've dealt with some health problems, I don't make it to most Sunday services. For now, I stay connected as much as I can by helping with the website and being part of the Social Threads community. When I do dip my toe back into the UUCW pool, I'm constantly amazed and inspired by the energy and imagination of the staff and the congregation. I guess the point I wanted to make is that this is my place. I'm committed to supporting this congregation, and I encourage you to pledge as generously as you can. You are my people. That was Rachel's statement. And here's mine. Okay. We joined this church in Elizabethan times, Rissmiller, that is. We did so mostly to provide our kids a liberal religious education, but the community was so inspiring that I felt compelled to become more engaged. I found some emails from 1998 showing that folks like Judy Savage, Wendy Innes, and Nancy Hancock mentored and cajoled me into becoming the church fundraising chair. I kind of wanted to do it because we're pack rats, and we still live by the rule that for everything we give away to a event like the yard sale, we can only take back half as much. But our barn still grows fuller and fuller, regardless of that. Later, I served on the board. The church in this community and its affinity for social justice had a huge influence on my own growth as a person and inspired me to get involved with several nonprofits that focused on my deep passion for what I love, trails and getting back to nature. To wit, I'm currently on the board of Wachusett Greenways, the Greater Worcester Land Trust, the Mid-State Trail, the Worcester chapter of the Appalachian Mountain Club, and the Green Mountain Club, and a couple other non-nature related boards. While these nonprofits have drawn me away from regular or even irregularly attending this church, I've remained very much identified with UUCW and its people. Indeed, this community has energized my journey towards self-actualization. I'm indebted to this church for that, and to the RE mentors like Ozzie Cooney, Lance McKee, and Jan Cutman, who had a very strong hand in shaping the amazing people that our kids, now adults, have become. Because of this, Rachel and I still give to this church as though we go to every service and still have kids in RE, and we will continue to do so. Thank you.
And thank you, Mike, and thank Rachel for us. The Stewardship Committee, as you all know, gave a little skit a couple weeks ago. Was it 1 week ago? It was 1 week ago. Man, time goes strange sometimes. So the funny part is the next day I said something to a friend about, oh, I was in a skit. Oh, what was the skit? Oh, it was just a small skit at my congregation. Your congregation has skits? I'm like, yeah, well, it was part of a campaign, an ask, for members and friends to make a pledge to the congregation. They go, oh, that doesn't happen at mine. So I'm really proud of this place. And I want to say I'm really proud and grateful for all of you, for 31 households who have already submitted their pledge to the stewardship team, raising, if you look over to this side, our 8th Principle Chalice is this year's measuring device for the pledges. And I want to thank Nancy Baffa for her incredible artistry in creating this chalice. We have already received $83,198 in pledges in 1 week. And I want to get a round of applause for that. And the stewardship team will be reaching out to the remainder of you who haven't made a pledge yet, so that we can have a conversation. Any of you who have already submitted your pledge and would like a stewardship conversation about this congregation, your relationship to it, interests, concerns, or anything, please see myself, Nancy Baffa, or David Showalter. You will also receive some contact from the connections team people if you're a fairly new family, and you can talk to any one of us no matter how old or new you are. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Maura. I should have let you introduce the offering. What a lovely introduction to the offering. On the back of your order of service are some lovely reminders. My name is Evan Wilson. I'm co-chair of the Side with Love Task Force, and I'm introducing our offering. So in addition to the pledges that members and friends make, we also pass the plate every week to support the mission and the work of our church. I'm also happy to share some offerings that Side with Love will be providing to the congregation this month as well. Aaron mentioned the potluck happening on March 18th. The announcement is on the back. Side with Love is happy to co-chair or co-support that potluck. And so if anyone is interested in learning more about the initiatives related to justice here at our church and in the broader world, please come join us. And I also just wanted to mention 2 other upcoming days. If anyone is interested in meeting with their state legislators over Zoom for an annual advocacy day hosted by UU Mass Action, that's happening later in the month, March 28th. You can come talk with myself or Mara Pentlarge after church. And then save the date, Saturday, April 1st. Side with Love and the 8th Principal Task Force is holding a film screening, a historical film looking at white supremacy as it overlaps with insurrection. Saturday, April 1st, 6:30 p.m. So those are some offerings that Side with Love is offering to the congregation. But now at this time, I will invite you to consider making an offering to the congregation as well.
We come to that time in our service when we're given pause to consider what is deepest in our hearts or most profoundly on our minds or in the work of our hands. In the days that have transpired or in the prospect of days to come, joys and sorrows which touch us deeply and are given another measure of meaning because of our capacity to share them in the midst of a company that claims us as a co-journeyer. So I invite those of you who have joys or sorrows this day to come forward and form lines on either side of the sanctuary. Come and speak into the microphone, telling us first who you are so that those using our auditory enhancement devices and who are joining us online can also participate in this important ritual. And then to light a candle if you so desire. If you're online, once again, you're welcome to place your joy or sorrow in the chat, and we will make certain to share that as well. Are there joys or sorrows to be shared this day?
I'm going to give actually a few joys for old friends. One old friend was here last night. His name is Joe Jenks, and he gave a concert here last night. We had a good crowd. It was delightful music filled with both oldies and goodies that folks who knew Joe Jenks for many years would have recognized, but also many new songs, and it was quite spectacular to have a concert in this setting again. It's been, I think it's been before COVID hit since we had a concert, and it was lovely to see this place activated. And so I thank everybody who came and everybody who was a part of that. Aaron did a yeoman's job, and Maura did a job in terms of announcing and kind of doing some running and things, and Joe was spectacular. I'd also like, in terms of old friends, to welcome June Davenport back to our congregation here. It's been a long time too. She's been gone almost as long as I was, but it's so good to see you, June.
Hi there, I'm Sarah Doolittle. I'm sort of new. I have 6 kids, and one of them is really struggling with mental health. And I've had to take his dad to court to get legal custody, and I'm waiting for the results. This judge doesn't give her findings at court, you get them in the mail. So I'm waiting to find out if I can get him medication for his suicidality. So it's really hard to wait. So I'm hoping it will be a joy next week, but we'll see. I'll just go back if I have to.
Hello, my name is Paul, and as you know that my brother's been in the hospital, I got the phone call this morning at 5:10 that he passed away, and it's weird, you know. How do you feel? Like, it's like, oh, at one point I'm angry because it disturbed my sleep, you know, but then the other time it was, now what do I do? You know, so keep me in your thoughts. I deserve it.
My name's Annie Armstrong, and my mother turned 75 on March 8th, which was the International Day of the Woman, and seemed very appropriate. She's a really wonderful person, and she's diagnosed with Alzheimer's several years ago, but she's been on that treatment that actually works and was just FDA approved. So I'm just really proud of her for meeting her Alzheimer's kind of head on, runs in the family. She's the only person to have been like, I've got this, I'm gonna do something. Anyway, so we had a party for her yesterday, and it was really great.
Hi everyone, I'm Michelle Hernandez. As a lot of you know, 2 weeks ago on Friday, I suffered a fall on the black ice and a severe break in my humerus. I have the cast off, but a lot of nerve damage in my forearm and hand, so it's going to be a long recovery. But I just want to thank this whole community. I had such an outpouring of love and support. I got e-cards, I got greeting cards, I got emails and texts and phone calls from dozens of people in this congregation. And it's really appreciated. It's really nice to be a part of such a loving community. Thank you. Oh, and one more thing. I have to give a shout out to my partner, Scott, who has been a trooper getting me through this one-handed.
Aaron, we have one from Facebook. Laura Lanhen writes, she says, hello, it's me being lazy. I mean comfy at home. Mason and I head to Florida on the 23rd for a week. Let's hope his first plane ride is a success. For me, let's hope I find SPF 100.
Thank you for that, Bruce. And Elizabeth writes, thank you, Cheryl, for all you do for us during services to help us feel seen and included. Shout out to the entire tech team for all they do to expand our circle. This morning, just a remarkable group of people. I want to add my thanks to Matt for all that he did to help make the Joe Jenks concert such a success last night. We had 55 people here, which is probably the largest of the concerts that we've had, and it's also a testament to the fact that Joe is becoming far more popular than he began with us 22 years ago, and his experience here. We had this moment in the service where we kind of looked at each other and goes, yeah, you're my spiritual twin. That'll work. And it has evolved since then, but what's evolved even more is that he has become renowned nationally in folk music circles. #1 songs, #1 albums. And he continues to find this place home in many ways. So I'm so honored to have him continue and to come and share with us, and hope that he'll be back again soon. So, and it was an honor to have Matt play with him last night, as well as, I'm trying to remember Deb's last name. Hold on a second. Deborah Cowan, who is in Shrewsbury and is also nationally and internationally known in folk circles as well. So maybe we will have Deb come and join us sometime soon. It seems wonderful to be introduced to this caliber of a musical talent that we have in our midst and have in our community. So grateful to all of you for that. Let us be in the spirit of prayer and meditation. Spirit of life, source of our inner and outermost being, we come today grateful for the many voices and the stories, for those who contribute their energies and their talent, and that which is symbolic of their own efforts in order that we might continue to thrive and grow and be of ever more service. We're mindful this day of the challenges that come with love, when those who are part of our family, either by blood or by choice, find their way out of this plane of existence and leave a hole and leave us tender. We would bring all that we have to bear on that moment and embrace all that is needful of embracing, and all those who are needful of care. We would also celebrate the moments of our lives that remind us of the creativity of the human spirit, of the opportunity that we have to reflect a larger life into an often bruised and hurting world. Help us continue to be that reflection in all that we are and all that we do. Amen. And blessed be.
When we're longing for love, it looks like justice. When we're longing for love, it looks like justice. We can live for love. Whoa, get committed to it. Love looks like justice. Love looks like justice. We can live for love. Love looks like justice. Love looks like justice. We can live for love. When we're searching for love, it sounds like when we're searching is. When we're searching for love, it sounds like when we're searching is. We can't say we're searching for love. Whoa. When we're searching for it, love sounds like oneness. Love sounds like oneness. We can sing the love. 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 When we search, we can sing the love. 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 Yes, we will sing. It's not hard. It's not. It's not hard. It's not hard. Let it where you are. Where you are. It's not hard. It's not. It's not hard. It's not. Let it be. Let it who you are. When we're hungry, it's sweet like kindness. When we're hungry for love, it's sweet like kindness. Choose to be hungry for love. Whoa, we're all hungry for it. Love sweet like kindness. Love sweet like kindness. We can live for love. We can live for love. We can live for love. We can Love looks like justice. Love looks like justice. That song was inspired.
So, one of the other versions of the story of the monk and the scorpion ends like this. The great guru replied, "My son, the scorpion, is a venomous creature. I know that. I did not forget it. It bit me because it is his nature. He bit me because he's already scared. He doesn't have the discrimination to decide whether I was helping him or not. It acted instinctively. But I am a sadhu. What sadhu I am if I am not kind to every creature? As he cannot let go of his venomous nature, I cannot forget my generous nature. He did what he knows best. I do what I know best. Biting is his nature, helping is my nature. If he doesn't forget his nature, how can I forget mine? In looking into the origin of this story, one response came from a student who quoted the Ahina Sutta in Buddhism, where we find this: on occasion, the Blessed One was staying near Savatha in Jeddah's grove, in a monastery, and now at that time there a certain monk had died after having been bitten by a snake. Then a large number of monks went to the Blessed One, and on arrival, having bowed down to him, sat to one side as they were sitting. They said to him, "Lord, just now our friend, a certain monk, died after being bitten by a snake." Part of the response came like this: "May all creatures, all breathing things, all beings, each and every one meet with good fortune. May none of them come to any evil. Limitless is the Buddha, limitless the Dharma, limitless the Sangha. There is a limit to creeping things, snakes, scorpions, centipedes, spiders, lizards, and rats." The story out of the Zen Buddhist tradition reflects the heart of the Buddhist concept of bodhicitta, the mind or the heart of enlightenment, which is available both in times of pain and in times of joy. Commenting on this notion, Pema Chodron brings, commenting on this, the Buddhist teacher Pema Chodron begins with a quote from the book The Little Prince by Anthony de Saint-Exupéry. Let's see if I've got it. Si seulement avec le cœur que l'on peut voir justement ce qui est essentiel et invisible pour les yeux. I will get it one of these days. As an invisible pour les yeux, les yeux, les yeux. It is only the heart that one can see rightly, only with the heart that one can see rightly. What is essential is invisible to the eye. In Saint-Exupéry's story, the lesson comes at the end of a chapter late in the book as a gift from the fox, who entreats the little prince thusly. "Go and look again at the roses," says the fox. "You will understand now that yours is unique in all the world. Then come back to say goodbye to me, and I will make you a present of a secret." Little prince went away and looked again at the roses. "You are not at all like my rose," he said. "As yet you are nothing. No one has tamed you. You have tamed no one. You are like my fox when I first knew him. He was only a fox like 100,000 other foxes, but I have made him my friend, and now he is unique in all the world." And the roses, writes Saint-Exupéry, were very much embarrassed. "You are beautiful," goes on the prince, "but you are empty. One could not die for you. To be sure, an ordinary passerby would think that my rose looked just like you, the rose that belongs to me. But in herself alone, she is more important than all the hundreds of you other roses, because it is she that I have watered, because it is she that I have put under a glass globe, because it is she that I have sheltered beyond the screen, because It is for her that I have killed the caterpillars, except the 2 or 3 that we saved to become butterflies. Because it is she that I have listened to when she grumbled or boasted, or even sometimes when she said nothing, because she is my rose. And he went back to meet the fox. Goodbye, he said. Goodbye, said the fox. And now here is my secret. A very simple secret. It is only with the heart that one can see rightly what is essential, is invisible to the eye. What is essential is invisible to the eye, the little prince repeated so that he would be sure to remember. It's the time you've wasted for your rose that makes your rose so important, said the fox. It's the time I have wasted for my rose, said the little prince, so that he would be sure to remember. Others have forgotten this truth, said the fox, but you must not forget it. You become responsible forever for what you have tamed. You are responsible for your rose. I am responsible for my rose, the little prince repeated, so that he could be sure to remember. One commentary on the character of the rose in this story notes the crucial role that the flower plays. Her proud nature causes the prince to leave his planet and begin his explorations, and it is his memory of the rose that prompts his return. The flower gains significance because of the amount of time and care the prince has invested in her. This then is the embodiment of the fox's admonition about what is essential. The prince loves the rose deeply because of the bond developed from acting to care for her. The commentary notes, in literature, the rose has long served as a symbol of the beloved, and Saint-Exupéry takes that image in good stride, giving the prince's flower human characteristics, both good and bad. Because the rose, the prince learns, because of the rose, the prince learns that what is most essential is invisible. That time away from one's beloved causes a person to better appreciate that love, and that love engenders responsibility. That love engenders responsibility. That line has always struck with me. To be response-able, we must be willing to craft our care for each other beyond the parts of us that are likable or not. And in the process, develop compassion for each other as gloriously incomplete and in-process people. Chodron reflects this sentiment in another meditation when she describes the pathway to enlightenment, a description that I have used in this pulpit before. And for those of you who are about to go, oh, Jesus, there he goes again. When I go, right, I want you to remember this as an echo that stays. Spiritual awakening, says Chodron, is frequently described as a journey to the top of a mountain. In the process of discovering bodhicitta, the awakened heart, the journey goes down, not up. It's as if the mountain pointed toward the center of the earth instead of reaching into the sky. Instead of transcending the suffering of all creatures, we move toward the turbulence and toward the doubt. We explore the reality and unpredictability of insecurity and pain, and we try not to push it away. If it takes years, if it takes lifetimes, we let it be as it is. At our own pace, without speed or aggression, we move down and down and down. With us move millions of others, our companions in awakening from fear. At the bottom, we discover water, the healing power of bodhicitta. Right down there in the thick of things, we discover the love that will not die. Here is the description of the abyss, if you will, that is part of the title of this morning's reflection, that gaping hole in our existence, which both scares us and intrigues us. Children reflects this in another writing. Bodhicitta is also equated in part with compassion, our ability to feel the pain that we share with others. Without realizing it, we continually shield ourselves from this pain because it scares us. We put up protective walls made of opinions and prejudices and strategies and barriers that are built on a deep fear of being hurt. These walls are forever fortified by emotions of all kinds. Name them: anger, right? Craving, indifference, jealousy and envy, arrogance and pride. But fortunately for us, the soft spot, our innate ability to love and to care about things, is the crack in these walls that we erect. It's a natural opening in the barriers we create when we're afraid. With practice, she notes, we can learn to find this opening. We can learn to seize that vulnerable moment. Love and gratitude and loneliness, embarrassment, inadequacy, to awaken bodhicitta. Children tells another story of a young woman who found herself in a small Middle Eastern town surrounded by people who were jeering and yelling and threatening to throw stones at her and her friends because they were Americans. Of course, she was terrified, and what happened to her was interesting. Suddenly, she identified with every person throughout history who had ever been scorned and hated. She understood what it was like to be despised for any reason: ethnic group, racial background, sexual preference, gender. Something cracked wide open, and she stood in the shoes of millions of oppressed people and saw with a new perspective. She understood her shared humanity with those who hated her. This sense of deep connection, of belonging to the same family, is the essence of bodhicitta. This moment of awakening is what some religions might call the experience of unitary oneness. It is one of the most intimate awakenings that human beings can have, and it comes in many forms and out of many different traditions and situations. The great 20th century Jewish philosopher Martin Buber noted in his fragments of an autobiography, "When I was 11 years of age, spending the summer on my grandparents' estate, I used as often as I could to be unobserved, to steal into the stable and gently stroke the neck of my darling, a broad, dappled gray horse." I love that. To stroke the neck of my darling, a broad, dappled gray horse. It was not a casual delight, he says, but a great, certainly friendly, but also deeply stirring happening. If I'm to explain it now, beginning from the still very fresh memory of my hand, I must say that what I experienced in touch with the animal was the other, the immense otherness of the other, which, however, did not remain strange like the otherness of the ox or the ram, but rather let me draw near and touch it. When I stroked the mighty mane, sometimes marvelously smooth-combed and at other times just as astonishingly wild, and felt the life beneath my hand, it was as though the element of vitality itself bordered on my skin. Something that was not I, was not akin to me, palpably other, not just other, really the other itself. And yet it let me approach, confided itself in me, placed itself elementally in the relationship of thou and thou with me. I remember another theologian that was meditating on this story who concluded was the moment that Buber discovered not only that he could feel a horse being petted, feel himself petting a horse, but he also felt like the horse being petted. The freelance philosopher Sam Keen talks about this in his book, Hymns to an Unknown God, when he says, we're all born enchanted beings. He said, when I was young, I'd have to wake up in the morning and feel my face to discover whether I was a bear dreaming I was a boy or a boy dreaming I was a bear. And it's part of our nature, right? Keen goes on to talk about the fact that children do not play in simile. Right? How many of you have young children or have had young children in your life? You ever watch them play, like galloping like a horse, or skipping down the aisle, right? Slithering like a snake across a rock, right? Barking like a dog, right? You ever ask them about that experience? Not a one of them at a certain young age will tell you that they were running like a horse, or slithering like a snake, or barking like a dog. They describe the experience firsthand. I am a horse galloping across a field. I am a snake slithering across a rock. I am a dog barking. Now, we might simply describe it as a mark of human development that we move from that experience of oneness to an experience of likeness. But my experience as a minister is that most of us spend the rest of our lives trying to get back to that initial experience of oneness, craving it, having tasted it, and somehow, with every other experience, forgetting it. Yet this is exactly the kind of thing that Chodron begs us to consider when we talk about what it means to embody the heart of the enlightened, to be the heart of the enlightened, to be the mind of the enlightened. And her pathway is so extraordinary. It is not through the heights and ecstasies of out-of-body religious experiences. For her, the pathway is through all of the mire and the muck, right there beside the people that we would not often choose necessarily to companion, and it is exactly the process of companioning those that we would first not choose to do so that teaches us the most about ourselves and about each other. Both of these stories by Buber and Chodron reflect the first level of bodhicitta as Chodron understands it, the level of unconditional bodhicitta, where an intimate experience is refreshingly free concept, opinion, or our usual all caught upness, she talks about. It's that which comes to us, something that happens to us and through us. Most of the time when this happens, we're caught off guard by such experiences, and at the very same time, completely centered in them. It's an experience that usually goes beyond language, beyond the capacity to describe adequately. It is essentially sensual in nature, and it scares the daylights out of us. Because we're not in control of it. We are simply a participant. The second level of bodhicitta according to children, is for those who train to be awakened wholeheartedly to unconditional bodhicitta. Those who are called bodhisattvas or warriors of non-aggression who respond to the cries of the world by training in the middle of the fire itself, by entering challenging situations in order to alleviate suffering. And we know the popular examples: Mother Teresa, Martin Luther King, Gandhi, Sojourner Truth, who recognized the greatest harm that comes from our own aggressive minds and who devoted their lives to helping others understand this truth. But here's the thing. We all have this potential. Children tells the story of the Buddhist teacher Jack Kornfield, who witnessed this in Cambodia during the reign of the Khmer Rouge. 50,000 people had become communists at gunpoint, threatened by death if they continued their Buddhist practices. And in spite of the danger, a temple was established in the refugee camp, and 20,000 people attended the opening ceremony. There were no lectures or prayers, but simply continuously chanting one of the central teachings of the Buddha. Hatred never ceases by hatred, but by love alone is healed. This is an ancient and eternal law. Hatred never ceases by hatred, but by love alone is healed. This is an ancient and eternal law. Thousands of people chanted and wept, knowing that the truth in these words was even greater than their suffering. At the heart of these moments is the essential lesson of bodhicitta, which comes in the form of a question, according to Pema Chodron. The essential question, she writes, of the warrior's training is not how we avoid uncertainty and fear, but how we relate to discomfort. The central question of a warrior's training is not how we avoid uncertainty and fear, but how we relate to discomfort. Or as Princeton philosopher and public theologian Cornel West, whose words were what helped Leah Morris find her song. What Cornel West reminds us, to live, he writes, is to wrestle with despair, yet never allowing despair to have the last word. Something worth pondering by us all. Amen, and blessed be. Would you please join together in our closing hymn, again found in our teal hymnal, number 1015, I Know I Can, and rise in body or in spirit. Thank you. Though troubles wait and every turn, I know I can go on. So brothers, take my hand, and sisters, sing my song. When trouble waits at every turn, I know I can go on. My colleague and friend Kendall Gibbons writes, "There is finally only one thing required of us. That is to take life whole, the sunlight and the shadows together, to live the life that is given us with courage and humor and truth. We have such a little moment out of the vastness of time for all our wondering and loving. Therefore, let there be no half-heartedness. Rather, let my soul be ardent in its pain, in its yearning, in its praise. Then shall peace enfold our days, and glory shall not fade from our lives." Amen, and blessed be. Are there any quick announcements from anyone? I do have one additional joy and sorrow, and I apologize to Laura that we didn't find it, or I didn't find it on Zoom. Mason and I are headed to Florida on the 23rd for a week. Let's hope his first plane ride is a success. For me, let's hope I find SPF 100. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Mara Pentlarge. For all those of you who've been wanting to do some climate action, there's going to be a rally on Tuesday, March 21st, in front of Bank of America because they are funding the fossil fuel pipelines. Bad idea. And then we're going to march to the Chase Bank, West Boylston Street, over to Gold Star Boulevard. Come join.
Excellent. Once again, beloved, worship in this place has come to an end, but our service continues next with an opportunity for refreshment and conversation. May yours be a wondrous and wonderful week.